Kevin Castle, real name Kevin Scondotto, best known for being a co-host on the Don Choney and Kevin Castle show, passed away on April 7th, 2025. This very sad news was confirmed by Don Choney, John Draper, who is the real-life brother of Kevin, and Mesh from Wrestling Soup on a show dedicated to the memory of Kevin Castle. This news is surreal. Don Choney and Kevin Castle are the OGs of wrestling podcasts. I first began listening to their show through clips that were posted on a YouTube channel called TV Tracks. In 2012, they would talk about what was going on Raw. I first remember hearing their thoughts on WrestleMania 28, and I really began to hear their opinions, and I didn't necessarily agree with everything they said, but I really saw them as guys who were very opinionated. I can tell they were older, they've been around for a while, they've been watching wrestling for years, and I first really began listening to full episodes in 2013, and from then on I was a listener. I listened every Tuesday morning. On occasion, I would listen to the live show immediately following Raw. But I really have fond memories of listening to the show on my way to college. I really enjoyed hearing them. And every Tuesday morning for years, I would always listen. And then there was a time where they stopped doing shows together. But then they reunited a couple years ago, and last year is when they began doing it full time again every Monday after Raw, and I was really happy, and I would always listen to it. I didn't miss a show, and this news, it's just so sad to hear. It is very sad to hear. Kevin Castle was someone who was very opinionated, as I said earlier. He was a long-time wrestling fan, 57 years old, always watched wrestling, always talked about how young he was when he first started and how he would go to the shows and all his memories. And, he had so many references that, again, wrestlers who were wrestling far before I was ever born, but I just really appreciative how knowledgeable he was about wrestling. He was someone who was never trying to talk above you. He never claimed to be some journalist or someone that you would assume would talk down to you. He was talking to you as a friend. That's the tone of the Don Choney and Kevin Castle show. Both of them, Don Choney and Kevin Castle. They would talk to you like you were their friend, and it was easy to listen to. They were entertaining. They were funny. And it was a show that was, it was almost as if you were in the room with them. That's how it kind of felt to me. Kevin always spoke his mind, and he never conformed to the popular opinion. That's something I really appreciate him. If he was a fan of a wrestler, it didn't matter if the crowd was cheering for him every week or if they were getting booed. He would tell you. He would tell you what he liked about them. He wasn't going to just conform to the popular opinion. He was not someone who would ever be intimidated by the IWC. If he was a fan of a wrestler or not, he was never afraid to tell you his opinion. I really appreciate that, even times when I might have disagreed with him. He always defended wrestlers that seemed like as if they were his friends, whether it be the Ultimate Warrior. He always defends Warrior, still to this day. Whenever there's a wrestler on one of these million wrestler podcasts who are trashing the Ultimate Warrior, Kevin was always there to defend him. He loved the Ultimate Warrior, and I remember when Warrior first got into the Hall of Fame, and just how sad both him and Don Choney were when he passed away in 2014. Kevin also defended Batista during the time in WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan, and Kevin was taking Batista's side, and I did not agree, but Kevin backed his guy, and I just really appreciate it looking back of how strongly he felt, and he gave his reasons. Roman Reigns, this was someone who Kevin always backed. Kevin was a Roman Reigns fan since day one, the biggest Roman Reigns defender, and through Roman as a babyface, Kevin defended him. When he turned heel, Kevin always praised his work. He loved the bloodline. And I think it was always something with Kevin where he saw something in Roman Reigns. And once Roman really became that star as the tribal chief, it almost gave Kevin that satisfaction as, hey, yeah, I told you so. I think we can all see, the results speak for themselves and how successful WWE has become because of Roman Reigns. And I credit Kevin. He really saw something in Roman, and he defended him as a babyface. But I think, especially when he turned heel, that's when really Roman became what he was capable of. Everything he could really do as a top guy. Kevin's also a good friend of Karrion Kross. I heard that Kross was, I'm sure he's aware of the very sad news. And he would defend him always on the show. He was always a fan of him, always supported him, always backed him. He also defended Corey Graves. A lot of people were criticizing Corey Graves for his actions. Kevin had his back. He thought Corey was getting the short end of the stick, and I appreciated Kevin for always telling you what he really thought. One thing I always wondered, listening to him all these years, is what's his top 10? Because he always would talk about his top 10 favorite wrestlers. I know he mentioned Kerry Von Erich as his favorite. I would, for sure, he's there. You would think Ultimate Warrior for sure. Undertaker, Ron Simmons, maybe Bret Hart, Sting, Booker T. I think Karrion Kross is there. Roman Reigns definitely is there. I'm not sure the 10th one is. We can all guess. I'm not sure if he's ever just said who his top 10 favorites were, but he would always talk about his top 10. I could figure out who was there, who he'd put there, but he never actually made a list. Outside of wrestling, I know he worked in the music industry. He booked metal bands and venues around New York City. He was very passionate about cats. The last Don Choney Kevin Castle show, he spoke about his friend who died in a horrible fire, and he ran a cat sanctuary. Kevin also does that as well. He takes care of cats. It's something he's always been very passionate about. He's an animal guy, animal lover. He's always talked about that. Sad news, listening to the show last year, he talked about people he lost. There was 2 friends of him who died. I think there was a bartender last year who passed away, and the friend who ran the cat sanctuary, he died, and he was very close to them, and I just really felt bad for him, hearing him talk about his close friends. And he had recent health issues. 6 weeks ago, he was close to death. He talked about it. He talked about how he was going to take care of himself and get better, and I just knew someone at his age, I was just hoping that he would take care of himself, because once you get into your 50s, when you have health problems, really easily, it could go south very quickly, and it's just very sad to see what happened. I tried to be as upbeat as I could here. I've been listening to Don Choney Kevin Castle show for years, and when I listened to that show on Discord, hearing them talk about him, I was tearing up. It was hard to listen to. This has not been a fun 6-7 hours since I first found out what was going on, and hearing his death confirmed. I knew that was the case a while back. I figured it out, everything that was going on, the posts that were made by Don Choney in the Discord chat, but hearing him say Kevin officially passed away, it was a gut punch. And hearing John Draper, his brother, talk about how Kevin died today, it just really, it made me sick to my stomach listening to it. It was very sad. I heard the whole show, and I wanted to make sure that was out before I did my tribute, to really gather all my thoughts. Wiped away tears multiple times. I'm not gonna lie. I had to blow my nose multiple times in the wee hours of April 8th, 2025. It's strange because I've never met Kevin Castle. I've interacted with him a few times online. I think he's liked some of my tweets. He's replied to some of my tweets before. I think he might have disagreed. Doesn't matter. Kevin's just saying what he thinks. I appreciated that. But I've heard his voice for years. It's so strange that you're never going to hear that again. When you're listening to someone for all these years and their tone is, they're talking to you like they're your friend, it really hits really hard. Really hard. It's surreal to hear that Kevin Castle is gone. Kevin Scondotto is gone. It's so hard to process. It's so hard to accept. I don't know what I'm going to think tomorrow when I go to listen to the show. When it's a tribute show, not a tribute show, it's a memorial, a show dedicated to his memory. I don't know what I'm going to think. I can't believe I'm never going to hear another episode of the Don Choney and Kevin Castle show. Never going to hear him say, "What's up, DT?" It's very sad. It's just very sad. I would like to give my deepest condolences to Kevin's family. John Draper, his brother, Mish, co-host of Wrestling Soup, and a show that Kevin appeared on numerous episodes of Wrestling Soup with Mish. He was there weekly. They would usually review SmackDown together. They were very close to here, and obviously Kevin's longtime co-host, Don Choney, who I heard his show today, heard how emotional he was at the end, and I felt really bad for him. I felt really bad for Mish and John and everyone who knew Kevin. I feel so bad for Trez. I know he did shows with her every week. I would tell everyone to listen to the show to get a full understanding of, who Kevin was, how he passed away, and if you're curious. I'm just shocked I'm never going to hear that show again, never going to hear his voice, because I've been listening to so many years. I've gained so much knowledge from them. I've listened to them in the car for so long on long drives, and it's just really sad. To Kevin, I just want to thank him for years of entertainment, making me laugh, opening my eyes, teaching me knowledge I did not know about wrestling. Stating your opinion, even if I agreed or I disagreed, I appreciated you for telling telling it like it is, speaking how you really felt. I always appreciated his opinions. I also appreciated his outside wrestling references, whether it's always mentioning the Mets, you love the New York Mets, we gotta say that, or all the bands he's worked with, all the metal bands. I appreciate hearing his knowledge, even though these aren't necessarily subjects I'm interested in, like I am wrestling. I always appreciated how much he knew. It's like he really knew what he was talking about. I'm just very sad. I'm shocked. I am still shocked by it. I know he had health problems, so maybe I shouldn't be shocked. And I knew things were serious 6 weeks ago, but that's just life. I don't know what to say. Only 56 years old. He left us way too soon. We're going to miss you, Kevin. Rest in peace, Kevin Scondotto. Kevin Castle is a legend. He's an OG. He is someone that every wrestling podcaster, including myself, owes a debt of gratitude to, because him and DT, they made this space, man. They are the OGs of wrestling podcasts. I don't know what else to say other than we're going to miss Kevin Castle. Rest easy, brother.